Jeremy, first, thank you for coming today to IPB and to take the MacBride Award. We are very proud to give you this award. I have some questions to you concerning the actual political situation. The first is, tomorrow ICANN will get the Nobel Peace Prize for their long-term activities against nuclear weapons. What do you think are the most important next steps in our fight against nuclear weapons for getting a nuclear-free world?
I think ICANN have got the prize because of their work on the ban treaty and the work they've done in the United Nations on this. And I've known ICANN for a very long time and indeed worked with them at the Humanitarian Effects of War conference in Vienna some years back, and their support for other humanitarian effects of war conferences. Where we have to go is to support the principles behind the ban treaty, to adhere to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and to work to bring about a nuclear-free Korea in order to get North Korea back into the NPT system. The only way forward can be through that. Likewise for India and Pakistan. Some time ago, there was proposals put very strongly at the NPT review conference that there should be an end to weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East, and a conference should be arranged on that. That was what was a requirement of the NPT, actually unanimously agreed. The Syrian war has put that on hold. There is, I hope, prospects of a political settlement in Syria beginning. I hope it will lead to a meaningful ceasefire, and I hope we can then return to that principle. But if the world walks away from the Iran nuclear deal, then that is very bad indeed. So I would say the priorities are ban treaty, non-proliferation treaty, Korea, and protecting the Iran agreement on non-development of nuclear weapons. That was a great achievement by a lot of people who put in a lot of patient work on it.
The world is spending 1.7 trillion for the military purposes every year. You know, like me, how many children are dying every day. NATO want to pay 2% of the GDP, which means doubling the military budget in the most of the European countries. How can we come again to a disarmament process, to really steps for disarmament? Because we need this money.
To help bring about peace and security by negotiation, by diplomacy, and by agreement. So, having a meaningful dialogue with Russia, having a meaningful process on Iran, a meaningful process on Korea, we begin to start to look then at a world in which we're looking at peace in the future rather than the growing expenditure on nuclear weapons and the growing dangers of a military build-up, in the case of Europe on both sides of the border with Russia. That means serious dialogue, because the Sean MacBride Award, which I'm very honoured to receive, is also about human rights. It does mean all governments challenging human rights abuses in their own countries, as well as through trade treaties and diplomatic pressure on others. And that's something I was trying to set out in my speech today to the United Nations here in Geneva.
Will a Labour government reduce the military budget in Great Britain?
What we're looking at is how we can use our military skills in helping in humanitarian support, such as helping in the refugee crisis in the Mediterranean or the crisis in the Caribbean where the hurricanes have been there. So it is about using the skills that are there for entirely peaceful purposes. I want us to be a country that promotes peace around the world, that intervenes for peace and justice. We cannot call it a world at peace when there are 60 million who are refugees. There are millions of people, possibly a quarter of the world's population, living in a level of insecurity in the sense of their living in their homes and their food. A world at peace is one that invests in all of its people and doesn't turn a blind eye to the obscenities of grotesque levels of wealth by the wealthiest minority.
You know, we are facing in Europe more or less a period of confrontation. Some of us are saying we are even in a second Cold War period. What do you think could be steps to become again relations of cooperation with Russia? What should the Western countries, the NATO countries, do for more cooperative relations to Russia?
The Council of Europe provides a forum for Russia, for Ukraine, for Germany, France, Britain, Turkey. It provides a forum which transcends both the borders between Russia and Europe and transcends the borders between the European Union and other countries in Europe. That seems to me a good place to start to build that diplomatic relationship and contact with Russia. It does mean challenging those that abuse human rights everywhere. It does mean challenging the rise of the racist far right in some parts of Europe. But there has to be a relationship with Russia and others. So to reduce the tension, reduce the military build-up, and work together for a common European peace. We cannot have a return to what happened in the 1970s and 1980s with the build-up of all the Cold War rhetoric and all the costs that went with that.
Thank you.